We're shifting into a new paradigm. The world is moving away from living in survival and learning how to thrive. We're shedding everything we have been conditioned to believe and creating a new reality as we uncover the truth within us. The truth is in our bodies, in connection with our sexuality. With this comes change in the way we approach intimacy in all of our relationships. The New Paradigm Intimacy podcast is here to support you to understand how we can better experience sex, love, and connection. Each episode, we will be sharing the voices of leaders who are supporting the shift in the new paradigm by harnessing the power of sexual energy so that you can experience your deepest pleasure and all of your aliveness. Hello, my name is Dr. Elizabeth Willis, and I am the host or hostess for the Institute New Paradigm Intimacy podcast, which we are having now. We are talking today with Gonzalo Salinas, who is here. And Gonzalo and I are working together on a few pieces upcoming, so I would love to tell you about them first. And then Gonzalo will introduce himself. So Gonzalo and I are working on September 14th. He is coming to speak at the Enlightenment in the Bedroom event in Miami, which is going to be hosted at Elle's Boutique in the Design District. If you're listening to this before September 14th, we would love to have you. And the tickets for that event are going to be down below in the links below. Enlightenment in the Bedroom is like a TED sex talk. And we're going to be talking about porn, which is Gonzalo's expertise and experience and specialty. And Gonzalo is also going to be supporting us and participating as a guest facilitator in our next round at Institute New Paradigm Intimacy, round 14, where we are offering a 9-month online Self Pleasure Modality certification course. And Gonzalo will be one of our 10 guest speakers coming on to as well talk about porn addiction, and his experience. So I'd like to welcome Gonzalo. Thank you so much for coming.
Thank you, Lisa. Thank you for this opportunity.
Absolutely. I'll let you talk a little bit about yourself.
So I'm a sex educator, right? That's the title that I usually go for because I love to educate people, especially in this topic that really has touched me in such a personal way, which is the topic of pornography, right? Like a lot of people ask me how you started like researching and learning about pornography addiction. See, I'm coming from that space, I was addicted to porn for years. And when I started healing, understanding how the body is related to this addiction and all this, I couldn't find all the information that now is out there, So imagine, I found just a little information in the English-speaking world, and in Spanish it was non-existent, So it was a lot of research, interviewing experts. It was a massive work until I could publish my book Conquering Porn Addiction, where probably 30% of the book is I talk about my personal experience, and 70% are tools and a system to get rid of this addiction, So what the type of work that I do is I do in the modality of group setting. I assist men also one-to-one. Lately also I've been working with women. because porn addiction is not only something that affects men, also affects women. So, and for me, this is more than a job, more than work that I do. This is a life mission. You know, I understand what are the intricacies of how porn is affecting our society, how it's affecting young men, how it leaves an imprint in someone's body, especially after a sustained use over the years. So for me, this is a life mission. I mean, this type of work is something that probably I'm gonna be doing this until the last day I'm here.
I love that. Beautiful. So what's coming as you're sharing is, can you tell me a little bit, and the audience a little bit, about what did your porn addiction look like?
Okay, so first of all, everything started long time ago when I found a Playboy magazine at home. I was 11 years old. So I come from that time, okay? And I was fascinated by what I found, you know? And one thing led to another. And until when I was in my early 20s, and then all this massive wave came where everything happened at the same time, you know, like the technology support before the video cards on the devices couldn't support the movies.
Right.
You had to download the entire night a movie, you know, or a scene. Now you just, you know, you load that in seconds. So the technology support, the entire world was paved with a high-speed internet, right? We're talking about like early 2000s, mid 2000s, right? And the appearance of the tube sites, which are the free porn sites where everybody can upload movies from all over the world. So that massive wave was the moment when I totally lost control. And how I knew I was in a very bad addiction is because I lost my willpower. I couldn't control myself. And I started experiencing all the symptoms that now I can see in men that come to me, you know, like the psychological impact, the emotional impact, the physical impact. And to the extent, I also talk about the spiritual impact that this addiction has on you. There is something interesting. A person that is addicted to porn outside looks like a perfectly functional person. Like you would never think that person that might be going through a very, very bad addiction, that person has any problems related to that, looks like a perfectly, and as a matter of fact, they are perfect pieces in the society, you know. So they work, they do the work, they, you know, they play the character, but behind the scenes is a very difficult addiction to take, you know, like it takes control of your life, and it creates very difficult, it makes very difficult to connect with other people, especially from an emotional standpoint. So in my case, imagine I started when I was 11, right? It was progressing, and in my late 20s was completely out of control, and I was able to heal completely. in my early 30s, right? I'm 44 right now. So it was a couple of decades.
Right.
It was a couple of decades. And I could see what were the consequences, and the main consequences that I experienced was the results that you get in your life, because you are putting your sexual creative energy to the service of this industry. So it's kind of like you run out of fuel, and then your personal projects, they have no fuel. Your relationships, they have no fuel. Your sexual life, you have no fuel. You are giving your orgasmic power, to this industry, which at the end of the day, you are feeding with your focus, your spiritual strength, with your orgasmic energy. You are feeding the industry, and at the same time, you are becoming part of that same karmic cycle, which are more like the spiritual effects, but like very tangible effects that I was living, psychologically. I was in a permanent state of anxiety. Physically, I experienced PIED, which is porn-induced erectile dysfunction, a symptom that is already typified by scientific literature. Emotionally, I was, I had no capability of connecting emotionally with a woman. So it was hell. So for me, I started diligently, one day at a time, doing the work, until one day I remember like not craving in my body porn anymore. Because it's a body thing. By the way, the addiction is in the body. It stays in your body. You create a pattern on how you get aroused, and that pattern craves repetition. That pattern almost like become alive in your body. So it's a matter of retraining your body into new ways to get aroused and to create a new erotic map. So, I mean, we can definitely talk about that, because that's a super extended topic. But in a nutshell, that's how, I played, my role of healing in my own life of this addiction.
Oh, that's fascinating. Thank you so much for sharing.
Thank you.
Yeah, and so the pieces that are coming through are the pieces around, let's just go with the anxiety piece. A lot of men that I have worked with one-on-one as well around addiction to masturbation, and also usually that comes with a porn addiction as well, the addiction to masturbation, have high levels of anxiety. And it's almost as if you don't really even recognize, because you can't see what is possibly bringing that anxiety about, which I define anxiety as like a constant state of, just operating from the mind and being in the mind all the time, and really being disconnected from the body, in the sense that you don't have the body, the nervous system doesn't have the depth, the capacity to feel the sensations. So it leads to this kind of like, it's just like this jittery energy, because it's uncomfortable, it's a lot. And to actually, this is one of the pieces that I talk about a lot as well, is like, we actually have to learn how to feel again. Because learning how to feel, like you can say, I'm going to learn how to feel, and cognitively you can say like, yes, I'm feeling angry right now, or I'm feeling sad, but to actually feel the sensations of the anger or the sadness or the grief move through your body takes presence to the sensations that are moving in your body. And what you were talking about in regards to that, it's like a body addiction, that it's like pumping through, it's that pattern in your body that your nervous system needs that next hit. It needs that next hit of adrenaline, dopamine. Dopamine. Yeah. So it needs that next hit, and it's so in self pleasure and in the self pleasure modality, there's a distinct difference between self-pleasure and masturbation, where masturbation and even porn is very goal-orientated. You want to have that, that orgasm, you want to ejaculate. And self-pleasure is, like you said, it's discovering the way that you can unfold, the way that pleasure can move through your body, and it's remapping so that you can slow down and discover other ways that you can become aroused. You can discover and support your nervous system. I really link self-pleasure with the nervous system because I really feel that it supports the developing the capacity of the nervous system. So you don't just all of a sudden go, you start to touch yourself and you realize like, oh my gosh, it feels really nice to touch my face, like super slowly, and my neck, and I like this. And so it is that mapping, that remapping of.
Yeah, 100%. As a matter of fact, I always tell the people that I work with that the field where the erotic energy is going to awake, the field needs to be a space of relaxation. No relaxation, no arousal, no healthy erotic experience. And relaxation is totally linked with the regulation of the nervous system, right? So just imagine, and I'll try to describe what are the feelings, what are the body sensations of a man, mainly because most of my work I've done with men, of a man that is addicted to porn. So this man of the example wakes up, right? Probably closing a REM cycle, so probably has an erection, right?
Okay.
And that erection has some sort of power, but that man refuses to take that power and wants to get rid of that power, So plus the state of a constant anxiety awakens once that man wakes up, because he's remembering who he is, or at least he's remembering the character, because the character is installed in the body, So all the sensations, the way the body has been programmed to create certain biochemistry, right, starts awakening. So the anxiety comes back as soon as he remembers his name early in the morning, okay? The problem is that he doesn't know where that anxiety comes from. So Carl Jung calls the origin of many traumas, most of the traumas, is a primal wound, right? And it's a primal wound is something that happened in the past, in the all the references of the life experience that this man has, mainly in the childhood, and can be or not something related to sexuality, right? But then that primal wound becomes that something that he refuses to face. So he's running towards porn. So here is the porn, right? And here is the primal wound. So he thinks that the problem is the porn and the addiction, right? When in reality, he's running away from this into this. So this is the escape route, right? He's escaping using this, right? So if he focused on trying to heal this, he'll never look at this or even recognize this. So when you start working with someone that has porn addiction, you have to review, okay, what is causing this? Number one, there are certain specific questions that you ask. So what is the reward that you get from porn addiction? Because it's actually doing something good for you. It might be destroying your life, but it's doing something good. It has a function. Let's find out, okay, what you are running from, okay? Because yeah, you certainly are. If you are going into this compulsive behavior, it's because you are extremely afraid of being you. Remember that you are not shooting heroin in your veins, right? You are adapting your body to create a different biochemistry, so you forget temporarily who you are, because remember that dopamine it puts you in a very euphoric state. So it takes you out of that reality, and makes you feel alive. We are craving for that aliveness because we are completely disconnected from the sensations. We want to experience something, that's how the body is reacting. And remember that dopamine is the hormone of a reward and motivation. So the brain, especially the male brain, is driven by novelty, right? Okay. This is called in biology. This is called the Coolidge effect, which is when you see a young, fertile female that is willing to copulate with you, and you can, give to her your genetic information, then your body is going to activate the reward system. You're going to produce dopamine, and you become brave, and you conquer her heart. So ultimately, you have sex, and you have kids. You create babies.
Right.
That's kind of like the whole panorama. But porn has created this lie because the human brain is not prepared for this level of exposure. Now, an 18-year-old kid can see more naked women in 1 hour than his grandfather looked in his entire life, right? So every single naked woman that he's looking on the screen is a shot of dopamine. So he stays, drugged in this euphoric state. That's why men nowadays, they masturbate to porn in 2 phases. Yeah, the first phase is the setup, and the second phase is the masturbation. So in other words, and many times the setup is longer than the masturbation. For example, they open the porn site and they start finding, number one, because of their own erotic blueprint, they go to the categories that they like, and they go to their favorite porn stars, and then they start opening new tabs, 1 tab, 2, 3, 10, 13 tabs, right? They fast forward each scene to the most hardcore part, right? And then go to the next one, to the next one, to the next one. Remember, each new porn star to the brain is a new potential female that they can copulate with. So it's a new shot of dopamine. So it's this, like super exciting, euphoric sensation, right? And then after they created the perfect setting, they start masturbating, jumping from one to another, overstimulating the reward system, and producing massive amounts of dopamine. They are not shooting drugs in their veins, but they are producing it because the human body is a pharmacy, right? What's the problem? The problem is that they create an atrophy in the dopamine receptors in the brain.
Right.
And then for a man, that's kind of like the starter of the entire arousal system. So if you have a Rolls Royce, but the starter is not working, nothing is going to work. So no matter what they do, they're not going to be aroused. They're not going to feel the excitement. So they're not going to be able to have an erection. That happens with time. Many men come to me, asking for like last resort emergency thing, because Gonzalo, like, I cannot get it up. It's and they feel destroyed, devastated. So that's how the biochemistry, like understanding the biochemistry of this process helps. Is not going to heal. Like nothing from a rational perspective is going to heal. healing goes through the body. You know, you have to do exercises. You have to learn to retrain your nervous system with breathing exercises. There are many things that you do with your body, but using rational tools, there's no healing. The healing goes through the body.
Yeah. Oh, I love all that. It all just makes so much sense, especially around the erectile dysfunction piece and not being able to get it up. And I feel that it also plays into attachment patterns, because in attachment patterns, you have really the predominant ones are the anxious attachment patterns, and you have the avoidant attachment patterns, right? So the avoidant is more like, I'm going to just do this on my own. I'm just going to, be in my own world and experience my own arousal and, the way that I know how to do it. And I don't necessarily need you to connect. Like, it's almost like the true authenticity, that true connection, not only is there an inability to feel it and to open to it, but it's almost like it's too much and overstimulating. Would you say that?
Look, the thing is, at some point, I know this is gonna sound crazy, okay? But at some point, the level of isolation
right.
that porn causes in men, they feel more pleasure, way more pleasure with porn than with a real human being. And like, I remember working with this guy, and in the Zoom call, he was literally crying, telling me, Gonzalo, I don't know what to do. Like, I see a woman, like, I don't feel anything in my body. But then I go to porn. First of all, like, remember, for these men that are affected by porn addiction, the level of arousal that they get from these extreme super hardcore categories that they find on porn, it's very difficult for a woman to compete with that. Like a woman feels like a vanilla ice cream, compared to like those extreme categories that more and more they are creating like crazy things right now in porn. I mean, every single year, the most visited porn site, Pornhub, right? They release their numbers. I always check that. They actually have in their corporate website, they release their numbers, right? And in the last 5 years, always in the top five, you'll see stepmom, stepsister, teen, and some sort of weird things, like probably a couple of years ago or something like that. The number one was like manga anime, which is this Japanese animation that is like super hardcore porn, but it's animation, but it's like very grotesque, And the thing is, if we are seeing, we are not talking about small numbers. We are not talking about small numbers. Like, just to give you an idea, Pornhub, right? They get 42 billion unique visits a year. That's more than 5 times the human population, And we're talking about unique visits. So it's controlled by the IP. That it's not that many people clicking. No, it's 42 billion like real visits. In the average visit is 11 minutes. So if you multiply 11 minutes times 42 billion, right? We are talking about the amount of energy is to build 5 times the 7 wonders, the new 7 wonders. And right now, that's why I believe it's an epidemic. It's an epidemic. It's silent. Sure. It's covered in shame. Like, people don't talk about openly about this.
I just got goosebumps.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. And like many times, like, I've asked men that have recovered from porn addiction, hey, do me a favor, like, I really want to put my work out there. Can you give me a testimonial? Everybody says no. Of course, who wants to be labeled? I've had men very brave that, have given their testimonial to me, but most of men, they don't. Mm-hmm. So because it's covering shame, it's covering guilt, even the cover of my book, right, it says conquering porn addiction, right, and it's like a brain breaking chains, right? Mm. And I remember this guy telling me, Gonzalo, you know what? Like, I bought your book, but then I had to like put it away, and I bought it electronic because, I was afraid that people would look at the cover, because, mm-hmm. And it's really sad because this is a topic that it is so negative, like the impact that porn is having in society is so negative that is we need to talk openly about this, but unfortunately it's still very, very covered in shame.
Right. Yeah, it is. That's why we'd love to have you if you can come to Enlightenment in the Bedroom if you live in Miami, because we are going to start talking about this topic because it's so important. We have a few more minutes. I wanted to talk about women because you mentioned mm-hmm. women and porn. So mm-hmm. I want to broach on that topic a little bit before we end.
Absolutely. I mean, lately I've been getting more requests from women. Is, something very interesting. I have been actually shocked by this, but I'm the one that gets the call in these type of situations. You got to take into account when somebody talk to you and tell you, hey, I'm having this problem with porn. This person is being extremely vulnerable. They're opening their soul, For many of them, it's very difficult. I've had many people telling me for the very, very first time, expressing to someone, hey, recognizing, that I have a problem with porn. So lately, I've been getting more calls from women. I found out something a little crazy, and is what are the categories that women search for? And most of the categories that they search are categories where women are very submissive, very dominated, or even humiliated. And I mean, this has been a little overwhelming for me because, especially nowadays, you would think the opposite, right? But I think in that search, there is some information of women wanting something.
Yes.
This is something, it's a topic to explore, mm-hmm. I haven't done the work of exploring it or going there, but the fact is that because I always ask for that information, what are the top 3 categories that you search the most? And in women, 90% of the time is categories where the woman is humiliated, is overpowered, Mm-hmm. So that's one thing that was kind of like a surprise for me. Mm-hmm. Then what I love about women is they do the work. They do the work. You know what? They have more discipline. They follow the instructions. If you tell them, okay, these are the exercises, these are the breathing exercises, this is, they follow that very well. Mm-hmm. And I love that. Another thing about women is that in this topic of porn, right, when it comes to numbers, it's not that prevalent. Still is, bigger number of men that are affected, but then numbers are growing in regards to women. You have to also do a slightly different work when it comes to going to the original wound or what was the spark of this whole situation. But when you are working with the woman or with a man, in any case, you always do the work with the body. So it is, I mean, many times it's even, I'm not going to say better, but it's easier generally working with women, because if you have somebody that is actually following the rules, is because the sexual pulsion, that desire of like going for porn is many times is way stronger in men, and with women, I think is when they come and ask for help, is like, I'm ready to help. Men, many times they are not even ready, but they lost their erection, so they come as an emergency,
Right.
So I've worked with women, but not as much as working with men. So I cannot like say, oh, I'm a complete expert, because remember, there are two different universes, But I'm getting more comfortable working with women. And I mean, I'm talking about specifically the topic of porn, because I've been working with women and couples in many other things related to sexuality, like, things like the woman being able to open up their bodies or accept their pleasure in their bodies. That's a whole different work. But when it comes to porn, I still think that my numbers working with women are not in the place where I can say, I categorically I can tell you this, and this, but definitely in the last 5 years, I've had definitely more women callings, which definitely tells me that this can affect to everybody,
Yeah. And that piece around their search and what they're searching shows the desire to explore those different archetypes, right? To me, like that shows like that desire to, and it also is hidden because that's also a piece that we haven't as a culture really allowed, the exploration of our desires, the communication of our desires, the ability to really connect authentically to our eros, which is our desires, that life force that moves through us, and like what exactly is it calling for right now? Because there's so much junk, there's so much conditioning on top of what that root of our desire is, and that desire to explore and looking, to be dominated, looking to be submissive is, a curiosity. It's a part that, there's no shame in desiring to explore that archetype. And so it shows that there's that, curiosity is there. It's just being directed, people don't know how to explore it, right? And that's where BDSM, I think, is such a crucial part of this as well, exploring those archetypes non-sexually, right? To feel that, like what that submissive role feels like in our body. And so that, I think that's super fascinating.
Yeah, look, one of the reasons why I request what are the categories that you search for is because, you have to be aware, especially if you are the support for this person, you have to be aware of how their erotic mind works, and in the erotic space of this person, you're gonna find different sexual fantasies, right? But the sexual fantasy always provides information,
Right, for sure.
And in that information, you're gonna find, mainly two elements: a desire that hasn't been satisfied, or a conflict that hasn't been resolved, which usually comes in the form of trauma, right? So once and this is very arbitrary, because like people feel the desire for a specific way to live their sexuality, but they don't know why they like that.
Right.
So if you like, to be spanked, or if you like to be humiliated, or if you like to dominate, like, okay, that you enjoy that. As a matter of fact, when you enter into that space, you start feeling this beautiful thing in your body, which is extremely, it's fascinating, like it's like this body sensation of, and you start feeling the power, like the power connected to a clear, enjoyable manifestation of your sexuality, right? But you don't know why. So when I start supporting the person, I start evaluating that, because like this is, almost a magician's work, like you enter into this symbolic world, and you start trying to, like, you get information from the person, but you start trying to put order, and then you kind of like package that, and you tell this person, look, this is what I found, like, now use this. You're giving that person a tool, and that person is going to, now with this new information, that person can use different tools affecting the body, so you are putting that person in a path. There's nothing you can do for them. Right. I always tell them, like, straightforward from the very beginning, I'm not going to do anything for you, but I'm going to provide you with tools. You're going to do the work. And when it comes to those fantasies, those things that people want to experience, you need to, like, step aside and start looking at that unknown world, where the fantasy gets created. And once you explore that enough with the person in a safe container, then you can start guiding that person. At the end of the day, this is gonna be almost like Virgil guiding Dante, right? And at some point you have to stop, because you cannot enter into these other spaces where Dante is gonna go. You have to, like, at some point say goodbye and equip this person with the tools, so that person can do the work and enjoy a beautiful sexual life.
Yeah. Oh, I love it. I have other things to say. I could keep going on, but we're at time. So thank you so much for coming.
Thank you so much.
I appreciate it. And we would love to see you at Enlightenment in the Bedroom. Enlightenment in the Bedroom, this is our 4th event that's happening in Miami. And the purpose is to bring these conversations to the forefront. So it's a bit scary, it's a bit edgy, but we're not inviting you to do anything at Enlightenment in the Bedroom. We're just inviting you to come, have a little glass of champagne, have some yummy bites, sit back and listen, and open your mind and your body to some new perspectives that are moving through in regards to sexuality, sexual wellness, intimacy, and relationships. So we'd love to see you September 14th. And everything about Gonzalo will be down below, as well as information and tickets for Enlightenment in the Bedroom. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Yes. Thank you for tuning in to the New Paradigm Intimacy podcast. My name is Dr. Elizabeth Willis, and I am your host and owner of the Institute New Paradigm Intimacy. I hope you enjoyed today's episode and found it both activated and vibrated in your body. If you liked what you heard, please be sure to subscribe to our podcast on Apple and Spotify and leave us a review. It really helps us out. Don't forget to follow us on Instagram and Facebook at New Paradigm Intimacy. For behind-the-scenes content and enrollment notifications for our graduate Self Pleasure Modality certification course, and more tips as we bring pioneering approaches to sex, business, and relating. Have any questions, comments, or topic suggestions? We'd love to hear from you. Drop a message on any of our social platforms. Until next time, keep exploring your edges in pleasure and leaning into what it means for you to be a part of the cutting edge of sexual evolution.